You know, here on Right Angle, we cover the breaking, huge stories every week, often involving President Trump. And sometimes we cover the latest scandal, which usually seems to involve President Trump. But today I want to take a break from all of that. I want to cover just one of those small kind of social media stories, one of those little gems involving President Trump. Hey everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is your Right Angle on the photograph that went viral over the weekend on Twitter. And I love this thing. Rhode Island Teacher of the Year. Let me make sure I've got his name right. It's Nikos Giannopoulos. Openly queer, as they're calling it now. Back in my day, we just called it fabulous, and we didn't politicize it. But he went to the White House to have his picture taken with the president and the first lady, and he was decked out like he usually would be for school. His wardrobe's just a little flamboyant, and he had his partner's black lace fan with him, and he comes across President Trump in the hall, and the president says, and I want to make sure I get this quote right, Nikos says the president said, "I had good style," which, number one, I'm already loving Trump more for this right there. And then he encounters the nervous aide. You know, aides, it's their job to be nervous, especially White House aides. But and he tells him, no, you can't have the fan in the picture. But he gets behind the Resolute desk there with Melania Trump, and the president says, no, keep the fan. It's great. So there's this picture of Melania decked out like she always is, Donald Trump doing that perfect businessman smile that he does in all of his photographs, and then Nikos Giannopoulos, Rhode Island Teacher of the Year, with his fan out. Just fabulous. Scott, you can probably imagine that the story is getting heavily politicized. In fact, Nikos himself even said that I was visibly queer in the Oval Office, and no one can take that away from me. Well, who's trying to take that away from him?
Well, gee, that's his parents must be so proud. You know, I really have mixed. I would be. You know, I have mixed feelings.
He's out and proud. He's doing his thing. Why not?
Well, I have mixed feelings about this because, frankly, I saw the picture and I thought, not at the Resolute desk. You know, like, I don't care if President Trump is posing with somebody and does that somewhere, but not there. I'm thinking, why does that make me uncomfortable? Because I actually grew up with a bunch of people in, watching people in theater and comedy who did stuff like that. So when Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye in White Christmas dressed up like women and did this whole dance routine and had feather fans and stuff like that, it was hilarious. When Flip Wilson did it on his TV show in the 1970s, it was hilarious. When this guy does it, I just kind of go, ooh, I don't know why. I think it's because he's not doing it for laughs. And to me, it looks hilarious. So I will acknowledge that I'm probably among a large percentage of American men who really don't care to see a man doing that. On the other hand, and here's where my mixed feelings come in, I love the fact that all of the people who are upset with Donald Trump because they think he's somehow, anti-them, now have this picture of this guy who apparently is a Trump supporter standing right next to the president being very much them. And so I think that just because it will disturb the left, I'm okay with the picture, although I would have preferred if they had cropped it just above the Resolute desk.
All right, fair enough. Scott has a greater sense of decorum than I do, and that's one of the reasons I like him so much. All right, Bill, Scott kind of got into a little bit of what I wanted to ask you, and that is the people that at least I've seen on Twitter after this thing went out that are upset about this aren't the uptight, angry conservatives. They aren't the blue collar Trump voters. It's people on the left who think, well, how can Trump even let him in the office after all the mean things he's done to gay people since entering office? Why is the hate again coming from the left here?
That's what they do. If you're a one trick pony, you got to know the trick, right? I mean, that's basically how it works. I think my favorite part of the picture is Trump's expression. He looks genuinely. Oh, yeah. I don't think it's his regular presidential smile. He looks delighted, and he doesn't look delighted in a posed kind of way. I think he just thought, oh, this is wonderful. What a great visitor. Here's the thing that really matters, though, Steve. I've been around theater people since I was 15. You don't get in this business or stay in this business 40 years without having a lot of gay friends. Bingo. A few of those gay friends are conservatives. And I've spoken to other conservative gays in the course of my speaking engagements. And the one thing I hear consistently, without any exception whatsoever, ever, from 25, 30 people, has been this. It is much, much easier for me to admit to conservatives that I'm gay than it is for me to admit to my liberal friends that I'm a conservative. Much easier.
Yep.
Conservatives just don't seem to care. Yeah. All of my liberal friends, they find out I'm a conservative, I don't have friends anymore. And to some degree, it's true for Black Americans and for women as well. You know, it's like it's much easier to tell. You know, they're much more comfortable. They're treated much more like people. A Black conservative is treated like a person, like an individual among conservatives, but if he goes to his Black community and says he's a Donald Trump supporter or whatever, he's completely ostracized. And this is the dynamic. And this is the dynamic that has to be maintained by this, this news industrial entertainment complex. And that's why this picture is so damning to them. That's why guys like Milo Yiannopoulos, something about that name, I guess. That's why Yiannopoulos was so damaging to the left, was because he was a flamboyantly gay person who openly supported Donald Trump and mocked all of their precepts. And when they would say about Milo, well, you know, you're a racist. I only date Black guys. You know, he's immune in that area, right? He's immune from this. He's immune from this narrative structure. So. The other thing I just want to add very quickly is that there's this perception that Donald Trump is just this horrible guy and all he does is talk about himself. Anecdotally, I've heard 4 stories from people who've met him directly, and they say, on the contrary, he is a genuinely charming guy who seems really concerned about you, which doesn't surprise me, because in order to be where he is before he became president, you have to be good with people. You can't be a deal maker and be bad with people. And of all the stories I heard from a White House aide who said that a number of labor leaders were going in to meet with Trump, and you could see them armoring up, you know. Yeah. We're about to go in there, you could see them, or we're not going to let this guy push us around. And when they came out, they were supposed to be in for 20 minutes. They came out like an hour and a half later or something. They were saying, do you believe this guy? I mean, Obama never talked to us. He never called us in the office. This guy sat there, listened to us, found out what we want, tried to work out a way for everybody to be happy. And I think that this demonization is going to go on. It has to go on because if the American people made the right choice and this guy is not Hitler, then what do you need the progressives for? And if Trump's not Hitler, then the guys in the street in the Antifa movement, just a bunch of thugs rather than, you know, freedom fighters, right?
Steve, let me just
yes,
add that the guy was at the White House because he was chosen as Teacher of the Year.
Yes.
And to a certain extent, I think what he did in that picture distracts from the reason that he was chosen. But again, I still say that I'm glad that it poked the left in the eye. But I look forward to the day when I don't know who you're sleeping with or, you know, what sex they are. I don't care about any of that kind of stuff because the recognition that guy got was ostensibly because he was a terrific teacher, and we need more terrific teachers. I'm glad that the president was taking a moment to recognize great teachers.
And Scott, he dressed almost. He said he dressed almost exactly as he does at school. The only way he was a little more flamboyant than he is in his everyday life is instead of wearing a tie, he wore a gold boat anchor, which of course is the Rhode Island flag or symbol or seal. I can't remember which he did to honor his state. So he's proud not just of awesome. His achievement, but where he comes from, and he expressed it in what I think was a way that was not only fabulous, but was a way the president himself approved of in an official White House photo, and that certainly makes it okay with me. Let me tell you though why I really love this photo. You know, Bill was so close to what I wanted to say here, but it got kind of missed it by that much. No, just a slightly different slant. And that's this: if you're in business, especially if you're in sales, like the way Donald Trump was for so much of his career, you have to actually like people, almost everybody, at just a fundamental level, in order to do what you do. And so we finally have an opportunity for there to be a president of all the American people, whether it's the out-of-work coal miner in Pennsylvania or the flamboyantly gay school teacher from Rhode Island. And the only reason he can't be a president for all Americans is the hatred that continues to pour out at him from the left. And what a shame that is. Wake up, guys. You got a president on your side. Smile about that, okay? And that's the right angle on the Rhode Island Teacher of the Year's visit to the White House, brought to you by the paying members at BillWhittle.com. If you like what you see, click on over, become a member yourself. And remember, we like it when you like our videos. We love it when you share them. So click that share button, and we'll see you next time. Bye.